Part 3. No Way Out. If you are yet to watch the first 2 parts of this video, follow the link in the pinned comment below so you can connect the story from the beginning. This is my story. I'm Jane, a waitress at Marty's Diner, whose act of kindness turned her life around in an unexpected and dramatic way by a beggarly-looking old man whom she served. Like stories with jaw-dropping twists. Then don't just watch, join the crew. Smash that subscribe button and give the bell a little tap-tap so you'll be the first to catch every new story we drop. Let's keep the surprises coming because the next one might blow your mind even more. Officer Carla Mendez and her partner Brian Holt flank me near the dessert carousel, their forms solid and imposing in the flickering fluorescent light. Rain pounds the windows, so hard it rattles the chrome napkin holders on every table, each strike like bullets against glass. The storm has turned Marty's Diner into a fishbowl, and I'm the specimen under examination. Mendez's voice cuts through the mechanical chaos of the still malfunctioning register, calm but carrying the kind of authority that makes innocent people confess to crimes they didn't commit. We received a tip you're part of a theft ring, skimming diner profits. Care to explain, Ms. Alvarez? My mouth goes dry. The words hit me like a physical blow, knocking the breath from my lungs. Theft ring? I can barely afford groceries, let alone orchestrate some elaborate criminal enterprise. The accusation is so absurd it would be funny if it weren't destroying my life in real time. That's ridiculous, I manage, my voice barely audible over the storm's percussion. I've never stolen anything in my life. But even as I say it, I can see the doubt in Officer Holt's eyes. He's younger than his partner, maybe 30, with the kind of eager expression that suggests he's still trying to prove himself worthy of the badge. His hand rests casually on his radio, ready to call for backup if this situation requires more firepower. Frank Doyle steps forward like a shark scenting blood in the water, his broad face flushed with opportunity and righteous indignation. He's been waiting for this moment, a chance to shift blame, to make someone else responsible for whatever problems have been plaguing his establishment. I knew it, he snaps, jabbing a grease-stained finger in my direction. I've been missing cash for weeks. She's probably been slipping bills out of the till when she thinks nobody's looking. His words hang heavy in the air, carrying more weight than they should because he's the manager, the authority figure, the one the police are inclined to believe. The remaining customers, Lyle Crenshaw, Mrs. Chin, the teenage couple, all turn to stare at me with the morbid fascination of rubberneckers at a traffic accident. That's not true, I protest, but my voice sounds weak even to my own ears. Frank, you know me. I've worked here for 2 years without a single complaint. 2 years of opportunity, Frank shoots back. 2 years of access to the register, the tip jar, the daily deposits. Hell, for all I know, you've been working with that vagrant to case the joint. The unfairness of it takes my breath away. Harold Martin, the man I defended, the one I risked my job to help, Frank is painting him as my accomplice in some imaginary crime spree. The logic is insane, but it has the kind of internal consistency that makes people nod along even when they should know better. I glance toward Booth 7, desperate for Harold's testimony, for some witness to my kindness rather than my alleged criminality. But the booth is empty. The vinyl seat where Harold sat is still warm from his presence, and his coffee mug sits abandoned on the table, steam still curling from the surface like a ghost of conversation. But the man himself is gone, vanished as completely as if he never existed. The plate in front of his seat is spotless, not just empty, but actually clean, as if it had been washed and dried and returned to the table. No traces of the expensive ribeye he ordered, no crumbs from the dinner roll, no stains from the loaded baked potato. It's impossible, but it's right there in front of me. I turn toward the restroom hallway, hoping to catch a glimpse of Harold, to call him back as a witness to his own existence. The door to the men's room creaks open to reveal only damp tile and the lingering scent of industrial disinfectant. Empty. He's simply gone. Where is he? I ask, though I already know no one has an answer. Where's who? Officer Mendez asks, her dark eyes narrowing with suspicion. Harold, the man I was serving. He was sitting right there. I point to booth 7, to the impossibly clean plate and the abandoned coffee cup. Lyle Crenshaw looks up from his own table, confusion creasing his weathered face. "Ain't seen nobody leave," he says slowly. "Been watching the door account of a storm." Mrs. Chen nods in agreement, her weathered hands wrapped around her teacup. "No one passed my table," she confirms. "And I've been sitting here for over an hour." Even the teenage couple shakes their heads, the boy's arm protectively around his girlfriend's shoulders as they edge toward the exit. They've been here the whole time, watching our drama unfold like it's entertainment, but they're as mystified as everyone else. Harold Martin has vanished like smoke, taking with him the only evidence that I was helping rather than stealing, serving rather than scheming. Without him, I'm just a waitress accused of theft by her manager, with no witnesses to contradict the narrative Frank is spinning. The customers exchange uneasy looks, their conversations dropping to whispers that carry more clearly than normal speech in the tense atmosphere. I can hear fragments of their speculation. "Always seem nice enough. You never really know people. Desperate times make people do desperate things." Each whisper is another nail in my coffin, another weight added to the scales of public opinion. The teenage couple by the jukebox edges closer to the exit, their young faces bright with nervous excitement. They smell trouble brewing and want to be close enough to the door to run if things get violent. The storm outside howls like a living thing, and the neon sign flickers like a dying heartbeat. Each time the light strobes, it casts everything in brief, harsh shadows that make the familiar diner look alien and threatening. I feel the room tilting against me, gravity itself conspiring to drag me down. While Officer Holt checks his radio, static crackling through the small speaker, Officer Mendez lowers her voice and leans closer to me. Her expression is unreadable, professional but not entirely unsympathetic. "The caller wouldn't give a name," she says quietly, her words meant for my ears alone. But the voice, it trembled, almost like they were testing something. Her brow furrows as she speaks, as though she's puzzling through something that doesn't quite make sense. There's doubt in her expression, the look of a seasoned cop who's learned to trust her instincts when the facts don't add up properly. "Testing something," I repeat, grasping at the slim thread of hope. "What do you mean?" But Mendez just shakes her head, unwilling to speculate further. Still, her words plant a seed of possibility in my mind. If the caller was testing something, then maybe this whole nightmare is orchestrated. Maybe there's some larger design at work here. My mind flashes to Victor Kane, the clean-cut stranger who appeared from nowhere to snap that impossible photograph. The sharp click of his phone's camera now feels like a trigger rather than a coincidence, the first domino in a chain of events that led to this moment. Kane moved through the diner with the confidence of someone who belonged, but there was something predatory about his efficiency. He documented me serving Harold, then vanished so completely it was like he'd never existed. And now Harold himself has pulled the same disappearing act, leaving me exposed and defenseless. A chill prickles my spine despite the diner's humid air generated by overworked fryers and too many bodies in too small a space. Everything that's happened tonight feels connected. The mysterious photographer, the impossible phone message, Harold's strange calm in the face of Chuck's aggression, and now this accusation of theft that arrives just as Harold vanishes. But connected to what? And why am I at the center of it? Frank slams the jammed National Model 100 cash register shut with the force of a man who's reached the end of his patience. The antique machine's brass keys catch the light as he leans across the counter, his bulk imposing even in the flickering fluorescent glow. "Check her apron," he barks, his voice rising over the hiss of the fryers and the storm's constant percussion. "Bet you'll find my missing 20 stuffed in there like a Christmas stocking." His words draw every eye in the diner, transforming what was already an uncomfortable scene into pure theater. I'm no longer Janet the waitress trying to make rent. I'm Janet the accused thief, displayed for everyone's judgment and entertainment. From his corner booth, Chuck Warren rises with a malicious grin that makes my skin crawl. He's been nursing his grudge since our earlier confrontation, and now he smells vindication in the air like blood in the water. "Told you she was harboring a crook!" he shouts, loud enough to be heard over the storm. That old bum probably cleaned out the till while she covered for him. Chuck's breath reeks of coffee and cheap whiskey as he approaches, his steel-toed boots leaving wet prints on the checkered tile. There's something in his small eyes that goes beyond simple malice. It's the look of a man who's found a legitimate excuse to hurt someone he already wanted to hurt. "Where's your partner, sweetheart?" he continues, his voice dripping with false concern. Old man finally smart enough to cut and run before the cops showed up. I want to defend Harold, to explain that he was just a customer who needed help, but how do I defend someone who's vanished without a trace? How do I prove the existence of a man who's left behind nothing but a clean plate and cold coffee? Officer Holt steps forward, his notebook out, pen poised to document whatever comes next. "We're going to need to see some identification, ma'am," he says. Standard procedure. As I reach for my purse, Chuck lunges at me with the sudden violence of a striking snake. His thick fingers grab for my apron pocket, seeking evidence of crimes I've never committed. "Where's the cash, sweetheart?" he sneers, his face inches from mine. "What did you do with Frank's money?" The sudden move sends a chair skidding across the black and white tile with a screech that cuts through the storm noise. I jerk back instinctively, trying to escape Chuck's grasping hands, but he's bigger and stronger and drunk on the power of righteousness. "Get away from me!" I shout, twisting away from his grip. But Chuck won't be denied his moment of triumph. His thick fingers catch the fabric of my apron pocket and yank, determined to expose whatever evidence he imagines he'll find there. The seam gives way with a sharp ripping sound that seems unnaturally loud in the crowded diner. My apron pocket tears open like a wound, spilling its contents across the checkered floor in a cascade of damning evidence. Crumpled dollar bills unfold as they hit the tile, mostly singles, a few fives, the pathetic remains of my tip money from an 8-hour shift. Loose quarters bounce and roll, their metallic clinking like coins on a coffin lid. Nickels and dimes scatter in every direction, some rolling under booths and behind the counter where they'll probably stay until the next renovation. A collective gasp ripples through the diner as the money spreads across the floor. It's not much, maybe $15 total, but in the context of Frank's accusation, it might as well be the contents of a bank vault. Well, Chuck says, his voice thick with satisfaction. "What do we have here?" Even I stare at the scattered money with horror, because I know how this looks. A waitress accused of theft, with cash spilling from her pockets when confronted by police. It's damning regardless of the innocent explanation. Cook Benny Lopez bursts from the kitchen like a man on fire, his spatula still gripped in his right hand like a weapon. Steam curls from the griddle behind him, filling the air with the sharp scent of scorched onions and burning dreams. "Back off, Chuck!" he shouts, planting himself between me and my accuser with the kind of loyalty that makes my throat tight. "You got no right to put hands on her." Benny's maybe half Chuck's size, but there's something in his eyes that suggests he's willing to make up the difference with kitchen implements and righteous fury. His red socks cap is pushed back on his head, revealing dark eyes that burn with indignation. "She's been good to all of us," Benny continues, his voice steady despite the circumstances. "Works double shifts when we're short, covers for people when they're sick, never complains about anything. You think she's running some kind of scam? You're loco, man." But his defense, heartfelt as it is, can't change the optics of the situation. I'm standing in the middle of Marty's diner with money scattered around my feet, accused by my manager of theft, while the man I was allegedly conspiring with has vanished into thin air. A lightning strike booms overhead, so close that the building shakes and the windows rattle in their frames. For a moment, the strike illuminates the entire diner in harsh white light, turning everyone into stark silhouettes frozen in this moment of crisis. Then the fluorescent lights flicker twice and die. Marty's diner plunges into darkness, illuminated only by the rhythmic flash of the neon sign outside. The pink glow strobes through the rain-streaked windows, casting everything in intermittent, hellish light. Without the constant buzz of the fluorescents, the storm sounds even more violent, like we're trapped inside the belly of some enormous beast. Emergency lighting kicks in, dim, battery-powered fixtures that cast weak yellow pools of light at strategic points around the diner. But the effect is more ominous than comforting, creating deep shadows where anything might be hiding. Rainwater seeps beneath the front door, spreading across the tile in dark fingers that catch what little light there is. The building creaks and groans around us, old bones settling under the weight of the storm's fury. In the dim emergency glow, Frank's voice cuts through the darkness like a whip. "You're finished here, Alvarez. Hand over your keys and get out before I press charges myself." His silhouette looms against the flickering light from outside, a shadow of finality that seems to fill the entire space. There's satisfaction in his voice, the sound of a man who's found the perfect scapegoat for whatever problems have been plaguing his establishment. "Frank, please." I try, but he cuts me off with a gesture I can barely see in the darkness. "Keys," he repeats. "Now. And your apron, your name tag, whatever else belongs to this establishment. You're done." My hands shake as I untie my apron strings, the fabric heavy with 2 years of service, of spilled coffee and absorbed grease, and the accumulated weight of small kindnesses. The name tag comes off next, a plastic rectangle with Janet printed in black letters that now feels like evidence of my own naivety. I drop the keys into Frank's outstretched palm, and they disappear into his thick fingers like hope vanishing into darkness. The sound they make hitting his skin is soft but final, like a door closing on everything I've worked for. Officers Mendez and Holt approach through the gloom, their flashlights bobbing like fireflies in the emergency-lit diner. The beams cut through the darkness but somehow make everything seem more chaotic, more fragmented. "We need to continue this conversation outside," Mendez says, her voice gentle but implacable. "Away from all this." She gestures toward the scattered money on the floor, the broken register, the aftermath of a night that started with simple kindness and has devolved into this nightmare of accusation and abandonment. Cold wind slashes through the diner as the front door swings open, carrying with it the smell of rain and ozone and the promise of worse weather to come. My soaked sneakers squeak against the tile as I follow the officers toward the threshold, each step taking me further from the only job I've had in 2 years. Behind me, I can hear the whispered conversation starting again, customers and staff parsing what they've witnessed, deciding what they believe and what they'll tell others. By morning, the story will have spread through the neighborhood. Janet Alvarez, the thieving waitress who got caught red-handed. Thunder drowns out the last murmurs as we step outside into the full fury of the storm. The rain hits me like a physical assault, instantly soaking through my uniform and chilling me to the bone. The storm has knocked out power to the entire block. Streetlights stand dark and useless, their familiar yellow glow replaced by the otherworldly strobing of police car emergency lights. Red and blue reflections dance across the rain-slicked pavement, turning the familiar street into something alien and threatening. Water runs along the gutters and improvised rivers, carrying debris from the surrounding neighborhood toward storm drains that are probably already overwhelmed. The neon sign above Marty's diner flickers erratically, fighting to stay alive as the storm tries to short-circuit its ancient wiring. Each time it flashes, it illuminates the scene in brief, harsh moments, me standing between 2 police officers, drenched and defeated, while the diner behind us glows with the sickly light of emergency fixtures. This is rock bottom. Unemployed, humiliated, and abandoned by Harold Martin, the very man I helped, the one I risked everything for. He vanished at the worst possible moment, taking with him any hope of vindication or understanding. Officer Mendez opens the rear door of the patrol car, and I can see my future reflected in the rain-streaked window. Questioning at the station, possible charges, definitely no references for future employment. The eviction notice in my purse, wherever that ended up in the chaos, might as well be written in stone now. I stand beneath the failing neon glow, feeling the night close in like a trap that's been decades in the making. Every choice that led me to this moment suddenly seems inevitable, leaving college to help Mom, taking this job, defending Harold, believing that kindness matters in a world designed to punish it. The storm rages around us, and I'm drowning in more than just rain. I'm drowning in the realization that I've been a fool, that the fairy tale ending I hoped for was just that, A fairy tale with no basis in the brutal reality of survival and suspicion that governs places like Marty's Diner. Lightning illuminates the empty street, revealing nothing but puddles and abandoned dreams. Thunder follows, shaking the ground beneath my feet and drowning out whatever small voice inside me still believes that this nightmare might have a different ending. But there's nothing left to believe in. Harold is gone, my job is gone, and I'm standing in the rain with nothing to show for 2 years of service except the clothes on my back and the crushing weight of my own naive expectations. The patrol car door yawns open like a mouth, waiting to swallow me whole. And somewhere in the storm, invisible and unknowable, the people who orchestrated this moment watch and wait to see how their test will end. I step toward the car, each movement taking me deeper into the darkness that has become my life. The rain keeps falling, washing away the last traces of who I thought I was, leaving behind only the cold reality of who I apparently am. A failed waitress, a suspected thief, a cautionary tale about the dangers of caring too much in a world that cares too little. The night has won, the storm has won, and I am utterly, completely defeated.
Do you like stories with jaw-dropping twists? Then don't just watch, join the crew. Smash that subscribe button and give the bell a little tap-tap, so you'll be the first to catch every new story we drop. Let's keep the surprises coming, because the next one might blow your mind even more.